lang. It's just that it's not alongside the activity that I would like you to perform. Okay? Nag-record na ba? So, ayun. But what would happen is that still I would discuss it. Okay, so number one, okay. So you might have noticed that you have already assigned three activities. So you already have already been assigned activities activity 0, 1 and 2. Okay? So paki-check sa please check your class notebook. Pero as far as I'm concerned, ayun, naka-assign na siya. You can also check it here in Teams. Okay? So na-notice nyo ba 'yon na may naka-assign na kayong mga activities? Ayun. Nag-adjust ba yung camera ko?
Yes po, sir.
Ayun.
Sir?
So, ayan. Yep.
Sir, si Miss Nerissa Cordova daw po hindi makakapag-join today kasi nagloloko daw po yung laptop niya.
Sige lang. Okay lang. Again, recorded naman to, so pwede naman yung balikan ito. Okay. So, ayun naman, ganda naman doon sa iba. Just in case that you will attend online sessions. Yeah, so kung okay lang naman paalam kayo. Pero okay naman na magpaalam kayo because that's the courteous thing to do. But just in case, be in the know na papayagan ko rin naman kayo kasi nga I record our therefore you may be able to watch it back. Okay? Pagka okay na yung situation. Okay, so I will really not hold against you kung hindi kayo makaka-attend ng mga online sessions. Okay? So, ayun. Yun na nga, may naka-assign na kayong tatlong activities. Okay? So, I placed the deadline at February 6. Pero meron yang secondary deadline na, okay? But this February 20 thing might be moved depending sa ilang circumstances. Kung anong lesson na yung aabutin natin by the second or third week of February. Okay? So it's likely that this will be moved. Okay? This may be moved. Okay, kasi ito yung final deadline eh. Kasi after this deadline, after the February deadline, for example, if this holds true, after the February deadline, you will not be able to submit you will not be able to submit. Okay, so if you are not able to turn in your activity, it will be considered as non-submission. Okay, and by the way pala you would be working on your activities on the class notebook. Okay. Don't forget to press the turn in button here. Ang alam ko, okay, if you actually check your Teams, paki-check na lang din. In your view o doon sa view ninyo, sa side ninyo, parang merong turn in button somewhere here. Okay, mabe-verify niyo ba sa akin kung nandito siya? Kasi nasa
sa taas po, sir.
Sa upper right.
Baka wala siya sa akin. Okay. So pero may turn in button siya. Yun ang point. Okay. Now, you might be working on your report on the class notebook. Pagkatapos na kayo. Okay? Because although sa ngayon actually nababasa ko na yung mga okay. actually, alam ko na merong isa sa inyo that is working on activity 1, okay? And then, half of you are at least halfway done sa activity 0. Yung iba wala pang ginagawa. So, ayun, nasa-check ko na siya actually, na nakikita na monitor ko na yung monitor ko na yung pagawa. But even though nakikita ko siya dito, mag-check kasi ako ng ng activity ninyo galing dito sa Teams. So therefore, I need to see that the status here is turned in. Okay, ibig sabihin dapat yung status nyo dito should be turned in siya. Because if this is just simply viewed, or okay, I would not be able to check your activity. Okay, so as a reminder, done. Okay, if you're already done, if you're okay with your work, with your homeworks, okay. If you're done, please do not forget to turn in to press the turn in button. Okay, because that formalizes your submission of your activity or of your report or your homework. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so that's one. So you already have your activity 0, 1, and 2. Okay, supposedly, I also should have been able to assign you your activity 3. Okay, your activity 3 is actually the first formal activity that is really unique to this course. Okay, and that concerns about approximations and round of errors. Okay. Still an introductory activity, pero that activity is actually very important since it establishes some of the basic concepts, some of the most important concepts that as we proceed with our future lessons. Okay, so kaya lang ang nangyari kasi is that may ginawa akong last minute changes. Okay, so ito yung sinusulat ko na ngayon yung activity. Actually nakasulat na to last week. Okay, kaya lang kagabi before I actually upload bago ko sana siya I felt that I had to add one topic. Okay, I had to add this topic actually. Itong unang topic na to is something that I would like to discuss din out of this as part of this activity. So ngayon na nangyari, nagulo ngayon yung arrangement ng discussion ko. So gumagawa ako ng mga last minute changes para mas pero later on i-discuss ko rin sa inyo itong topics na to. Okay, so that inform kung ano yung nasa activity niyo. Pero that's for a later discussion. Okay. So will also be assigned to you. Okay. Hopefully within the day matapos ko na siya. Halfway naman ako dun sa halfway naman sa mga dinagdag ko mga topics. Okay. So I think matatapos ko naman to if not tonight, probably tomorrow. Okay, so I'll be able to send this to you and assign this to you later. Okay. So So pero before we proceed with activity 3. Okay. Let's talk about muna if you have concerns sa activity 0 at saka sa activity 0 muna. Are you encountering anything? Na-encounter ba kayong problems or difficulties?
Sir, yung sa may .mat po.
Ano yung sa .mat? Sige, pag-usapan natin. Anong ano yan? Anong page yan?
Exercise
Kung maalala mo.
35 po ata. 35 po
35.
ata.
Ah, 34. This one?
Opo, hindi daw po gumagana sa octave.
Yung alin?
Yung basta po yung may .mat po, yung katulad po ng ganyan, electricity, .mat.
Paano siya hindi gumagana? Kasi ano, I would like to know ano yung specifics nung ano. I would like to know ano yung specifics nung hindi niya paggana kasi maraming pwedeng maging cause yun eh. So ano kaya ang specific na ano na error message or ano yung lumalabas na ano? Will you be able to will you be able to remember it now para ma-discuss ko siya sa inyo? Or kung hindi, pwede namang balikan nyo later on. Tapos kapag nakita nyo na yung specific at say for example makukuhanan nyo na ng screenshot yung specific error na lumalabas, then you can send it to me over kahit private message na lang. Okay? Kung hindi mo maalala
Okay po,
ngayon.
sir.
So,
Nag-error lang.
Pero meron specific may specific na error message eh. Kung ano yung cause ng error. For example, baka kasi say for example, isang possible cause nito ha. If that is octave siya na desktop or
Yes,
octave
po.
na online?
Online po yung nagagamit ko minsan.
Okay. Kung octave na online, okay. Teka lang. Hindi bukas yung octave online. Were you able to check kung octave online to ha? Wait lang. Yung error that you are trying to say has something to do with the .mat file. So it's an external file, tama ba?
Opo, yan po ata, sir.
Okay. Ako hunch ko lang to pero hindi ako sigurado dun sa specific na error na ano mo. Okay. It's probably that you are having problems with the .mat file because Octave cannot find it. Hindi niya mahanap yung .mat file na gusto mong i-access. Say for example, in this case, itong load something. Okay? If you simply type here yung load electricity.mat, iba yung nakalagay dito command. Electricity use. Case sensitive You might be having an error something like this one. So you are unable to find or to load the file because you are the Octave is not able to find the file. Okay? Now for you to be able to resolve this, you should be able to see the file here. Kailangan makita mo siya dito. Okay? So say for example, nasaan ba yung copy ko ng file na yun? Electricity use. Okay. So this one, no? This is the electricity use .mat file ko. Okay. Now I need to upload it here. Okay. So that I can see it here. And then if I again issue that command, maloload siya.
Kukuha yun, sir.
Ha?
Paano po makukuha yun, sir?
Yung files?
Opo, yung file ng electricity use.
There is a link here in which you can open. Okay? That leads you to a OneDrive file, OneDrive location. Please do download the entire folder. Okay, download niyo yung folder na yan. Okay, for you to be able to have these files. So yung link is up here, dun sa manual ninyo. Okay?
Okay po, yun po. Hindi ko po alam yun sa student files. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so yun ba yung error na na-encounter mo?
Yes po, minsan po.
Yung okay. So if may kinalaman siya sa external file. If you are having problems with the external files or interaction with the external files, the first thing that you have to check is in the case of Octave online, dapat nakikita niyo siya dito. Okay? In the case of Matlab, dapat nandito siya sa current folder. The file that you need to the file that you needed to use or to access within the Matlab environment is dapat nandito sa current folder na to. Okay? So, actually one part nung exercise nyo dito in this part in this part of the discussion. Saan ba yun? Ito. This actually instructs you how to navigate towards your working directory. So yung working directory na tinatawag natin, the working directory that we call is this one. Yung nandito sa address bar niya. Okay? So if you are working on an external file, okay? Which means that you have an external file, then you have to access it. You have to import it towards Matlab or Octave. Okay? You have to point your directory towards where the file is. O kaya, yung file ang i-copy nyo sa location na to. Okay? For example, in my case, I can actually change the location of this by change the location of my current directory. Okay, so by clicking this one. Okay, and then kasi nandito yung files ko eh. Andito yung file na yun. So, ayan, wait lang. Ayun, dito siya, activity 0. And then I'll go inside it. So, wala pala yata laman yung folder ko. Dito siya, ayan, ito pala. Okay, so from there, okay. I can actually issue the command load electricity use that mat file. So if this executes, makikita nyo dito that the variables contained within this file is to be transferred here, or is to be copied in this workspace, is to be loaded in the workspace. Okay. So, ayan. Ito siya. Okay? In terms naman ng octave, ayun. So while I'm waiting for the octave for my desktop octave to load. Meron pa ba kayo ibang na-encounter na problems? Or something like something that you would want me to address regarding activity 0. Mr. David, may question ba? Nakataas yung kamay mo. Yun. So, sige, mukhang wala naman. Okay, so so please continue working on activity 0, and still if you would be encountering problems, please do discuss it with me. Okay. Actually, ang isa sa mga mas gusto kong approach when it comes to teaching in laboratory classes is that yung tipong one-on-one coaching with students. Okay. So parang ginagawa ko is that I really do not discuss in class as a whole. Kung mag-discuss man ako, it's something that is really needed to be discussed. Okay, pero I actually would like to be to discuss some things with the students, especially kung ano yung na-encounter ninyo sa activity. Okay, because yung interaction kasi natin regarding your activity, especially mga with regards to your activity, indicates that you are really working on the activity. Okay, so doon ko nalalaman na gumagawa talaga kayo at nakaka-encounter kayo ng mga problems. Okay, and then you are able to bring that problem up with me or bring that difficulty up with me. So doon ko nalalaman na ginagawa niyo yung activity niyo. Okay? So I really prefer na meron tayong ganung discussion. And the thing is that this setup of having an online class actually made it easier for me to do it. Okay, kasi kung face to face to, the only time that you will be able to interact with me is during the scheduled class, yung 4-hour class na schedule natin. Okay, pero this time since medyo meron tayong means of communication, even if hindi tayo nakikita in person, you can actually send me messages. Okay, i-send niyo sa akin yung questions niyo, and then from there we'll pick it up. Okay, so mas prepare ko yung ganun na coaching. Okay, kino-coach ko lang kayo with regards to your activity. Okay, but please do make sure na you really understand your question well, kasi baka mamaya meron lang kayong mga konting mga maling na ita-type. Okay, anyway, bibigyan ko kung gano'n naman yung na-encounter ninyo, I'd probably be giving you a clue kung saan kayo nagkakamali. Okay, pero still basta kung nagkakaroon kayo ng if you would be encountering problems, difficulties, meron kayong mga questions, please do take it up with me. Okay, so kahit na medyo minsan late ako mag-respond, okay, susubukan kong i-discuss yan sa inyo. Okay, is that clear? Okay, sa napakanta. Sa Octave naman, the Octave desktop, okay, you would be able to locate to your working directory by pressing this one. Okay? So if you press this one, or if you click on this one, you may be able to locate where your folder is. So sa akin, sa case ko, this is under this and then this one. Okay? So I'll select that folder and then I would be able to see the files inside that folder so that I can now issue the command load. From the command window. Okay? Is that clear? Okay, so sige. So if hindi pa kayo makaisip ng mga concerns niyo, baka mamaya niyo pa maisip 'yan. Okay. I'll just briefly discuss and demonstrate yung activity 1. Okay. And this ibibigyan ko lang kayo ng parang kumpara saan ito. Okay. So activity 1 is about writing scripts and functions. Okay. This is about writing scripts and functions. And although may encounter niyo na yung pagsusulat ng scripts and functions dito sa activity 0. Namely sa part ng dito sa part na to. Dito sa simula program listing program listing 28, okay, and onwards. You would have a way of having to see firsthand yung pagsusulat ng scripts and functions. Okay, but I dedicated a full activity. Again, an introductory activity for that. Para lang sa scripts and functions. Okay. Now, in your case, lalo na sa case ninyo, it is really important that you would be able to write scripts and functions in Matlab or in Octave. Okay? Basically because, okay, ang course natin is about algorithms. It's about numerical methods. Or that is using your computers, okay, to solve problems, okay, but using numerical computations. Okay? And kung numerical computations yan, gagawa kayo ng algorithm. So your numerical computations will be carried out by a computer by writing a script or a program sa kung ibang language yung ginagamit or ibang programming language yung ginagamit natin, we will call that a program. Okay? Pero in this case, since we are using Matlab or Octave, we will simply use the term script and functions to mean or to refer to the code that you would be writing. Okay, that you would be writing or to implement your algorithm. Okay? So basically, ang pupuntahan nitong discussion natin is our discussion, ang magiging lesson natin kasi sa course na to is about numerical methods. It's about numerical methods. And when you say numerical methods, it means these are methods, okay? Or these are these are methods in which mathematical problems are solved using numerical computations. Okay? So before kasi sanay kayo mag-solve ng problem nang gumagamit kayo ng formula, tama? Yung halimbawa, bibigyan kayo ng formula, say ano bang mga alam yung formula? Halimbawa, yung ano, yung pinag-aralan natin sa lecture, yung demoids. Okay, yung nth root of z equals nth root of r times cosine of pi plus 360 k degrees divided by n. Okay, plus I sine of theta plus 360 k degrees over n. So, sanay kayo pag binigyan kayo ng z, okay, at binigyan kayo ng n, okay, at binigyan kayo ng, binigyan kayo ng z, tsaka binigyan kayo ng n, you would be able to solve this problem, okay, by using this formula. Okay? Ang tawag nyo dyan, analytic solution. You call that analytic solution. Okay? But there are many problems in engineering that are not really suitable for analytic solutions. Okay? Number one, the formula to be used might be too complicated. Okay? Most especially if you're dealing with engineering and actual engineering problems. Especially kung, for example, mag-arrive yan sa isang ordinary differential equation with variable coefficients. Okay. So far, nakakapag-solve tayo ng ordinary differential equations with constant coefficients. Tama ba? Naaral nyo ba 'yon sa DE niyo? How to solve ordinary differential equations with constant coefficients? Mukhang wala nakakaalala. Susubong ko kayo sa teacher niyo sa DE. What method do we use para makapag-solve tayo ng mga differential equations having linear differential equations having constant coefficients? Anyone? Wala na akong kausap Ayun. So, andyan ba kayo? Resets nga kayo kung nandiyan pa kayo. Wala na kayo. Andyan pa, sige. Kasi kahit dito sa phone ko, walang nag-ano eh. Walang gumagalaw dito sa phone ko. So, baka akala ko nag-ano ako. So, wala tayong naalala ng method ng pagsosolve ng linear differential equations with constant coefficients. Ako mukhang wala. Lagot kayo sa DE teacher niyo. Okay, so kung hindi nyo maalala to, malamang hindi nyo rin maalala tong isa. Kasi ito yung pagkatapos yung pag-aralan yung method na to, yung method para dito, you'd be proceeding dun sa method para sa variable coefficients. Okay, but my point is ito. So babalikan na lang natin 'yan dun sa lecture natin, no. So my point is this one. There are problems in engineering, especially those complex ones, that although there is a formula, okay, or there is a what we call mathematical model that represents that problem or that engineering problem. The problem is for you to be able to solve that formula might be very complicated. Okay, it might require you to use, or it might require you to employ complex mathematical tools. Okay, or it's probably baka wala naman talagang tool to solve that kind of problem. So those are possible. Okay. That is why there are times that instead of actually doing the stuff that we are used to, which is trying to solve a problem by using a certain formula or by applying a certain formula, instead ang gagawin natin is yung formula, lalagyan na lang natin siya ng mga numbers. Okay, lalagyan natin siya ng mga particular values. Okay. Tapos we will try to determine ano kaya yung step by step procedure. Okay? Para makakuha tayo ng solution galing dun sa formula na yan. So instead of actually using a formula to directly solve a problem, what you are going to do is you determine a process. Okay? You determine a process from the formula, or deduce a process, okay, from the formula. Okay? And then this process is to be translated into what we call an algorithm. Okay? We will be translating that process into an algorithm. Tapos yung algorithm na yan is something that is to be written, okay, in a script. Okay? Or sa ibang programming language, kundi Matlab at Octave ang pinag-uusapan natin, it will be written in a code as a program. Okay? This is when the time na ang ginagamit pa natin in order to program our computers is yung C or yung C++. Yan. Tawag natin doon sa masusulat natin. Okay, it's called a code. Okay. Pero this time, since we're using Matlab or Octave, we will be referring to that as the script. Okay. Now that script is to be implemented by your computer. Okay. So that is why it is really important. Okay, it is really important for you to develop the skill of writing scripts and functions. Okay? And that is the motivation for activity number 1. Okay, that is the exact motivation for activity number 1. Number 1, I would like you to know the rules of writing a script in Matlab or Octave environment. Okay, if you are using Matlab, okay, yung environment nyo looks something like this one. Ito nga yung editor. So kung na-encounter nyo na to sa activity 0 or sa activity 1, okay, you would be able to see that this is where you would write your scripts. Okay, and what you're seeing here is actually one of the scripts that you would be using in a future activity. In particular, this is activity number 3. Gagamitin nyo itong script na to sa activity number 3. So that's one thing that I would like you to learn from activity number 1. Learn or be familiar with how you would navigate with the environment that you would be working on. In terms naman ng Octave, nandito siya, editor. So, ayan. Diyan naman kayo mag-work kapag ka nasa Octave kayo sa editor. Okay. So, number 2, you need to learn how to yung rules, especially in terms ng semantics. Okay, yung syntax rules ng nung language that you are using. Okay. Every programming languages and every applications, okay, that uses a code like Matlab and Octave, they have different rules, or they have different syntax rules when writing codes or writing scripts. For example, at baka ito hindi na kayo pamilyar dito. One of the things that is most commonly done, okay, when you are writing a program or writing a script, okay, is reporting the results by displaying the results on the script. Okay? So, for example, in terms ng Matlab, meron siyang sariling function. Okay? Like for example, it uses the function, one of the functions that you can use to display results in Matlab is DISP. Okay? So, sa Matlab or sa Octave, okay, we can use DISP, okay, in order for you to display results or display something. For example, we use that, say, DISP tapos hello world. Yan. That is in terms ng Matlab or ng Octave. Octave also works again, pareho lang naman ang syntax ng syntax tools ng Matlab and Octave. So whatever I can write on Matlab, although there are some differences din. So hindi sila laging pareho. Okay. Okay. Pero sa C, okay. Sa C, that command, okay, is called printf. So wala naman tayong sample ng C dito, hindi natin siya masusubukan. Okay, pero this printf function, okay, is used sa C, okay, in order for you to display results or text or numbers into the screen. Okay? Tapos sa Matlab, when you are or sa Octave, when you are trying to write codes, okay, you are not really required to put in semicolon at the end of a line. Okay? Whether you put a semicolon there or not, it's okay, hindi siya mag-error. But in C, you are required to put in semicolons at the end of a line. Dahil kapag may nakalimutan kayong semicolon at the end of at least one line at kinompile niyo yung program niyo, it would return an error. So those syntax rules, kailangan ma-familiarize kayo. Especially yung program flow structures. Okay? You were able to encounter those sa activity 0, kung activity 0 pa lang yung nagagawa niyo. You were able to encounter them here. So, yan yung gumagamit ng if else, if else if. Okay, so there are very specific rules on how you would write those kinds of structures. So may mga particular tools siya na sinusunod. And what I need you to do in this activity 1 is to be able to understand how these rules are to be used. Okay? Maliwanag yan. Kung ano yung gusto kong maanohan nyo sa activity 1. Pero sumasagot Malabo ba yun? Pababangan ng hands. Lahat nga kayo raise ng hands ulit. Okay, so sige. Tinetest ko lang din kasi yung pababa na. Tinetest ko lang yung network kasi medyo matagal kayo sumagot So, inisip ko baka delayed kasi ako. Nakita niyo naman kanina may dumalabas sa display sa Teams ko na mabagal daw yung connection ko. So, may case na kasi ako ganyan before. I have this case of session with my previous class. Last term pa to. Salita ako ng salita. Delayed pala. Disconnected na pala ako. Okay, I was disconnected. So, wala nagre-react sa mga sinasabi ko. That went around for around mga a little over 5 minutes. Okay. Nalaman ko lang na delayed ako. Okay, nalaman ko lang na delayed na dumating sa akin yung mga reactions ng mga estudyante ko kasi at the same time na naka-online tayo dito in my laptop. Nag-online din kasi ako sa phone. Nakita niyo ba? Ayan. Nag-online ako sa phone. So, parang ito ngayon yung monitor ko on what happens within the class. Okay, so nalaman ko lang na delayed lahat ng mga sagot ng mga estudyante ko. Magagalit na nga sana ako sa kanila. Okay, so nalaman ko lang na delayed pala yung lahat ng mga sagot nila because yung connection ko sa laptop ko is delayed also. So ayun, kaya tinetest ko lang din kung baka yun na nga delayed ako. Okay, anyway, so raise hands nga ulit. Okay, so mabilis naman yung reactions niyo. So sige, baba na. Okay, pero yun ang pangalawa kong gustong maintindihan niyo dito. Okay. So number 1, again ulitin ko what are the things that I would like you to look at when you are working on activity 1. Okay. Sa activity 1, number 1 that I would, although hindi ko na siya specify dito kasi hindi ko na siya in-specify dito kasi in general I would just like you to I would just like you to write scripts and functions. Pero syempre may mga sub text diyan. Okay. So number 1 of which is that number 1 that you need to look at activity 1 is to familiarize yourself with the programming or with the coding or scripting environment. So kailangan alam nyo yung features nung environment niyo, paano nyo i-run, paano nyo i-execute yung script. Okay? And lalo na in the case of Matlab, yung fundamental difference between a script, okay, and a function. Kasi basically they both would end up as an M file. Okay? But how a script would work and how a function would be executed are very different things. Okay? So this is something that I would like you to check when you are working on activity 1. Okay, so familiarize yourself with the coding or scripting environment. Number 2, yung syntax tools. Okay, yung syntax tools, most especially titignan nyo dito is yung mga structured ang tawag yung mga structure in those that involve structured programming. Okay? Programming, double M. Okay. Like in making decisions. Okay? That includes if, else if, else. Okay? Yung switch statements. Paano gumagamit ng switch statements? Paano yung syntax niya? Okay? So, yan. And another is yung looping structures. Yung while at saka yung for. So yung mga correct syntax on how to write for loops, yung mga correct syntax on writing while loops, and of course, especially if you're dealing with looping structure, ang titingnan nyo dito is that you'd be able to write you'd be able to write a loop that does not end up in an infinite execution. Okay, kasi isa yun sa mga trap na na-encounter ng mga nag-aaral ng programming language. Yung magsusulat ka ng for loop or ng while loop na walang termination or that won't terminate. Because that would either crash your computer because it would overload the memory. Okay? Or it would just simply be annoying. Kasi nga yung program mo naglo-loop na naglo-loop. Okay, so those are the things that I hopefully would like you to look at at activity 1. And activity 1 is very important, okay? In our case, since this lays the foundation on your on how you would work with Matlab or Octave. Okay? Tandaan nyo na at the end of this course, kailangan marunong kayo magsulat ng program na nag-i-implement ng algorithm. Because you need to solve problems. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. So, please do take a good look at activity 1, okay? Intindihin nyo siyang mabuti. Okay, so that's activity 1. Okay, so ayun. Again, kung makaka-encounter kayo ng mga problems or difficulties, just take it up with me. Okay? Send lang kayo ng message. Then I'd be happy to discuss them with you. Okay, para matingnan natin kung paano natin ma-address yung yung difficulties niyo. Okay? So that's activity 1. Now, this activity 2 is not actually in my original plan. Okay? So yung activity 0 as the fundamentals and itong activities 1 and 2 are actually parang mga introductory additional tools aside from the fundamentals. Okay, that is applied to our particular course. Now, nung una, hindi ko iniisip na isasama ko to. Okay, actually kung titingin niyo rin yung syllabus na binasend ko sa inyo dati, wala nito. Walang activity 2 na untitled ay Symbolic Operations. But I thought that this might be helpful. Okay, this might be helpful also for you since pwede niyo rin to kasi gamitin sa lecture. Okay, pwede niyo gamitin itong yung matututunan niyo dito. Pwede niyo itong gamitin sa lecture. Okay? Because there are topics na pag-uusapan natin sa lecture. Okay, pero pwede natin siyang gamitan ng Matlab din. Okay? Not programming per se. Okay, but actually using symbolic operations or symbolic computation. Okay? And in Matlab, in the context ng Matlab, pag sinabi niyo symbolic computations, okay. Symbolic computations. Okay, this involves operations performed on symbolic variables or symbolic objects. As you might have deduced, ang Matlab is used to Matlab is used to do numerical computation. Numerical, okay? Meaning, it could deal with numbers. Bigyan nyo ng maraming numbers ang Matlab or ang Octave. Tell Matlab or Octave what to do with those numbers. And Matlab or Octave would happily provide you the results. Okay? But those are numbers. Okay? Before, applications such as Matlab and Octave cannot process symbolic objects. Ano ba yung mga symbolic objects na tawag natin? Symbolic objects are objects or data in computers that resemble as variables or literal variables in the context ng math lessons natin or ng math courses natin. Okay? For example, yung mga variables na ginagamit nyo, x, y, z, na ginagamit natin sa algebra. Say for example, you have 2x plus 1 equals 0. Okay? And then solve for x. Of course, before, applications such as Matlab and Octave cannot deal with this kind of problems. Okay? But with advancements in programming technology, okay, si Matlab nagkaroon ng tawag na Symbolic Math Toolbox. Okay. Si Octave nagkaroon siya ng it has a symbolic package. Okay. Which allows for defining and operating on symbolic objects. Okay? So these tools also include mga basic bukod sa arithmetic operations on symbolic objects. They also include other advanced functions like you can be able to solve differential equations, okay, using Symbolic Math Toolbox or using the symbolic package. Okay, you can that's medyo mas advanced na. And yung next lesson natin sa lecture called the Laplace transform, okay, can actually be performed within Matlab or Octave. Okay, and they can be performed by using symbolic objects. Okay, to demonstrate my point, okay, sige, pag-usapan pala muna natin kung paano nyo i-activate or paano nyo i-activate yung symbolic math sa Matlab tsaka yung symbolic package sa Octave. Okay. So simula ko sa Matlab kasi if you install your Matlab, okay, and if you have installed Matlab and ang ginamit nyo is yung trial, that that I instructed you to use. Kung nag-base kayo sa instructions ko, okay? Nung kumuha kayo ng trial, okay? When you obtain the trial from MathWorks. Hopefully, sinunod nyo ako or you followed my instructions that you obtain Matlab Essentials. Okay? Because it already includes the Symbolic Math Toolbox. So which means when you downloaded it, when you downloaded the trial and you installed the trial, kasama na yung Symbolic Math Toolbox sa na-install niyo. So you're okay. Okay? Now if not, halimbawa wala kayong Symbolic Math Toolbox, okay? And I'm talking about Matlab. You can actually get it as an add-on. Okay? You can get it as an add-on. So you go to manage add-ons. And feeling ko matagal to. Hindi pa rin nare-resolve nung computer ko yung problem niya with Matlab, which is something that I was encountering last week pa. Since I actually formatted my computer, okay, last week before we are supposed to meet last Thursday. From then, yung Matlab ko naglolo ko na. Now, medyo may ginawa akong fix. Ayun, mabagal pa rin siya. Yun yung problem ko. Okay, so I'll try to be back here later. Okay, pero basically dito tayo magsisimula sa manage add-ons. Then from there we will look for the Symbolic Math tool from one of the options, and then we will get a trial. Okay. Kung naman ang ginawa ninyo ay nag-base kayo sa or ang kinuha ninyo ay yung it starts with a C, yung crack version. Okay. Make sure lang na nakuha nyo lahat nung toolboxes. Okay. And you would be looking for the Symbolic Math Toolbox. Okay, that's what we are looking for. Okay. So, ayun. Sa Octave naman, okay, I left specific instructions dun sa manual. Okay. So, what I would want you to what I would want you to do is to go to this link. I know this is still working. Okay. And then look for this file. This is the specific name of the file. Okay. So, symbolic-win-py-bundle-2.9.0-star.gc. This is the very specific name of the file. Okay, which is or which can be obtained from this one. Okay. Now, save that file into your computer. Okay. Just make sure that Octave would be able to see the file here in the current directory. So you should change this one. You should change the location of your current directory so that Octave would be able to see this file. And then from there, you run this command. You type in this command. pkg install symbol, yan, yung eksaktong pangalan na yan. Okay? Now, Octave would tell you that the installation is finished if there is no problem, or if the installation wouldn't be encountering problems, then wala naman sasabihin si Octave. It would just say that the package is installed. Okay. But every time, this is something that you have to remember when you're seeing Octave and the Symbolic Math or the Symbolic package. Every time you would be using Octave to perform symbolic operations, kailangang i-load nyo muna lagi. You have to load the Symbolic Toolbox by typing in pkg, okay, space load space symbolic. So that command loads the symbolic package into Octave. And after that, dyan nyo pa lang pwedeng gamitin yung mga commands available under the symbolic package. Okay, is that clear? Okay. But if you would be having problems, I know that you would not be able to try it now kasi syempre nasa computer kayo. So at nakikinig. So if you're working on activity 2, okay, and you would be having some problems with these tools. Okay, please do inform me para tingnan natin kung paano siya ma-resolve. Okay, I'm looking again at Matlab. So if you are able to install the Symbolic Math Toolbox, nakalagay na yan dito. Ito yung add-on manager na binubuksan ko kanina. Okay. If wala siya dyan, you can actually get it from here. Get add-ons. Okay, and then find it among the list. Find the Symbolic Math Toolbox among that list. Okay? So, will this be clear? Okay, let us try to have a preview of on what tools or what can you do with symbolic operations. Okay, so let's try to look at some of the initial parts of this activity. Okay, yung first part niyan is manipulating expressions. Okay, so that allows you to operate on expressions. Okay, so let's perform yung first mga first few commands ito. Okay. So one thing that you have to remember when you are working with symbolic operations and would be using symbolic package of Octave. I'm using Octave muna. Okay, is that you have first to create symbolic objects. Okay? And in the case of Octave or Matlab, the command is syms or sims. So sims x creates the symbolic object x. So which means you can now use the x, okay, as a variable. Okay, so let's define x and y as both symbolic objects. Okay, so in the case of Octave, medyo maghihintay kayo ng konti sa part na yan. Sa Matlab, ganun din. Sims din yan. Okay, so hintayin natin. Kasi wala namang magagawa pagka hindi pa siya nag-load. Okay, but what you would be able to see is that this x and y or these symbolic objects would be actually loaded into your workspace. So makikita nyo yung class niyan is symbolic object. Okay? So bago yung Matlab, ayun, tapos yun kay Matlab. So ito, makikita nyo dito, meron kayong symbolic object dito. Okay, na x and y. Okay, now from there, we can say for example, dito ako sa Matlab gagawa kasi mas ang tagal nung na. Okay, so Matlab ko. Ayun. Let's say for example, we have to multiply. Okay, here the problem is to multiply monomials. Okay, that is to multiply x minus 1 times x minus 2 times x minus 3. So we will be expanding this one. Okay, this product of factors is to be expanded into sum of terms. Okay, so we type in expand. Okay, then x minus 1 okay, times x minus 2 times x minus 3. So that would return yung expansion niyan, which is x cubed minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6. Okay? So, ayun. Parang ano, you'll be in this first part, you would be manipulating expressions. Okay? So, say ito, let's perform itong instead of actually expanding, okay? We can actually try to determine factors using the function factor. Okay, so let's say you have factor x cubed minus 6 times x squared, okay, plus 11x minus 6. That should give you 3 factors, x minus 3, x minus 1, and x minus 2. Okay? Buka to? Is this clear to you? So, pag ngayon meron kayong mga halimbawa, meron kayong kailangan i-multiply. Most especially, may encounter nyo to sa lesson natin sa Laplace transform. Okay? Meron kayong kailangan i-multiply na mahaba at medyo tinatamad kayo magpapel. Okay? Medyo tinatamad kayong, say for example, meron kayong i-multiply na, ayan, i-multiply natin siya. So, we know for a fact na pag i-multiply natin yan, we will have x, we would have, for the first two parts, we have x squared minus 3x plus 2. Then we will have to multiply this with x minus 3. Okay? So we will have x cubed. That's negative 3 minus 3, that's negative 6x squared. Tapos we have positive 9 plus 2, so that's plus 11x and then minus 6. Okay? Although in this case madali na naman siya i-multiply ng mano-mano. Pero baka may ma-encounter kayo that you would really have you think it would take time for you to work on by hand. Edi gamitan niyo siya ng symbolic operations sa Matlab or Octave. But you really have to be be very careful with when using these kinds of when using the symbolic operations in Matlab or Octave. Okay, because more often than not, your commands or yung mga ginagawa nyo or yung gagawin nyo or yung pinaplano nyo gawin, okay, although tama naman yung magiging command niyo, okay, but there are times that Matlab and Octave would return absurd results. Parang ang simple lang ng problem na pinagagawa mo sa kanya. Pero yung ilalatag niya sa yung result is something na medyo malabo, komplikado, medyo sabog yung results. So, you really have to be careful with this one. Kasi hindi lahat ng problems kaya niyang isolve. Okay? I'd suggest na kapag ito gagamitin niyo talaga extensively, break down the problem into parts. Because Matlab and Octave really work well with symbolic operations involving very few or very small problems. Okay, so what I do here and what I usually recommend to students is you have to break down the problem into smaller parts and solve those parts and then pagsama-samahin nyo sa dulo. Okay? Rather than giving the problem in its entirety sa Matlab or Octave. Kasi baka mamaya, yung binibigay niyong problem sa kanya, yung solutions na ibibigay niya ay mas komplikado doon sa ni-expect niyo. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. Let's have another last example. Okay, dito. here you can solve equations. Okay, you can solve equations here using the command solve. There is also a part here that allows you to solve differential equations. Okay, so ito non-linear pa to. This is a first order nonlinear equation. Sa DE natin, wala tayong method of solving that kind of differential equation. We haven't studied or at least I'd assume that you haven't studied a method, okay, that can solve nonlinear equations. The only way that you can solve nonlinear differential equations, okay, is to actually first translate that into a linear equation. Okay, ililinearize nyo muna. Okay. So I suspect na wala kayong pinag-aralang linearization. I know that kasi nagtuturo din ako ng differential equations before. So I know na isa sa mga topic na nilalagpasan pagka nagtuturo ng differential equations is yung linearization. Actually, madalas siya, hindi siya nilalagpasan, hindi siya naaabutan talaga. Okay. But in this case, in Matlab, you can actually, or in Octave, you can actually use Matlab or Octave in order for you to solve non-linear equations such as this one. Okay. So, dito pa lang, makikita nyo how I defined the symbolic variable. Okay. So, I did not define them separately. Hindi katulad nung na-encounter nyo kanina. Earlier, I have defined the symbolic variables as sims, x, and y. So these two, this command results to two distinct variables or symbolic objects that are defined in the workspace. Okay. This one is different. Pag initial yung command na sims y of t, okay, you would be defining two you still would be defining two symbolic objects. Okay, but yung isa is now a symbolic function. Okay, ito kasi these are symbolic variables. Ito tsaka to, these are symbolic variables. Y here now is a symbolic function. So meaning Matlab knows that this would be used as a function and that this function actually depends on the variable t. Okay, so kung maalala nyo, this one is the classic functional notation. We read this, kung may encounter nyo sa libro, we read that this expression as y of t or y as a function of t. So same thing here in Matlab or in Octave. Okay. May question ba? Naka-raise yung hands ni Mr. Okay. Tapla. Pero guys, if you have questions and nagsasalita pa ako, tapos hindi kayo makabat in kasi hindi ko pinapansin yung naka-raise ng hands. Just feel free to chat para ma-call nyo talaga yung attention ko. Kasi minsan yung mga nagtataas ng kamay, medyo ini-ignore ko kasi I am weighing kung aksidente nyo lang nataas yung kamay nyo or baka may tanong talaga kayo. So I'm inclined to actually think na baka nagkamali lang kayo. Okay, kasi most of the time ganun yung nangyayari. Okay. So if you have really questions tapos hindi kayo makabat in kasi madaldal ako, i-chat nyo lang pag okay? So ayun. So yun yung difference between y at saka y na kanina, which is a symbolic variable, and then y now as a symbolic function. Okay? So yan. Now, let us define our differential equation as this one. Okay? So first, yung dy over dx. How do we define dy over dt, sorry pala. Or the first derivative of y with respect to t. Okay? So we use the function diff for differentiation. Okay? So when we type in diff y and then t, okay, it means you evaluate the derivative of y or differentiate y as a function of t or with respect to t. So which means itong expression na to sa Matlab is actually equivalent to dy over dt sa libro. Okay, so these two are equivalent expressions. Ito nga lang sa totoong buhay o sa sa libro natin, ito sa Matlab. Okay, so that if we actually define this entire thing, we will have let's put it inside a or within a symbolic variable then, or symbolic variable. We will have dy over dt, that's your dy over dt, and then add to their y, so dy over dt plus y, and then we square the entire thing. Okay, and then since this is an equation, magre-require yan ng equal sign. Okay, but again, as I pointed out dun sa orientation natin with Octave or Matlab before, yung the fact that the equal sign, okay, in terms ng meaning, okay, the equal sign in Matlab or Octave is not actually meant to mean equal to. Okay, so hindi siya itong sign na to is not equal to in Matlab. I'm just talking about Matlab at saka Octave. Okay, you interpret this equal sign as what we say na assigned to, or it means assign the value of the expression at the right side into the variable at the left side. Okay, it's an assignment symbol, or it's an assignment expression. Okay, whatever, if you have an expression, say for example x equals 4 plus 1, okay, whatever is the result of the expression on this right side is to be assigned to the variable on the left side. So usually when you are doing assignment statements such as this one, yung variable na paglalagyan mo ng container mo, okay, yung variable na container mo ng results should be at the left side. And the expression that needs to be evaluated should be on the right side. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng equal dito, or yung symbol na to. Now, if you really mean na equal talaga sila, okay, as in something like this one, ito yung nasa libro okay. If you really mean that they are indeed equal, use double equal sign. Okay, you use this one para mag-represent siya nung equal sign dun sa expression na in-interpret natin. Is that clear? Yan. So, kaya ganito siya. Kaya meron siyang double equal sign dito. Okay? So, we continue on. So, that is equal to 1. I forgot. Nakalimutan ko. Sobra ako ng parenthesis. I mean, kulang pala. Ay. Actually, mag-square pa pala ako dito. I forgot to raise it to 2. So, diff y of t plus y squared equals 4. Tama, sobra nga pala talaga ako. Ayan. Sorry, sobra pala ako ng parenthesis. So, there. So, I already now have my ODE. So, my ODE looks something like this. Okay. Now, to be able to solve that ODE, okay, I use the function dsolve. So, dsolve ng ODE. Okay. And then let's place it into a variable called y solution. Okay. So, as you can see here, that the results, okay, has 2 rows. So, which means dalawa yung solution nito. This differential equation has 2 solutions. And those two solutions are this one. So, that's, sa papel, that's written as C1 e raised to negative t plus 1. Okay. And then, we have C2. Yung second solution is C2 e raised to negative t e raised to negative t minus 1. So this is the first solution, this is the second solution. Okay? And as you can see, yung solutions ko contains arbitrary variables or arbitrary constants, C1 tsaka C2. Because I did not specify initial conditions. Okay? Diba ganun naman yung sa DE? Pag hindi nag-specify ng initial conditions yung problem, it means that we are looking for the general solution. And your general solution would contain arbitrary constants. So, in the next steps, I would actually try to place an initial condition. Yun nga lang, yung initial condition ko 0. And then this is how would I modify the command dsolve or the function dsolve to include the initial conditions. So pag ginawa natin yan, let's say for example, we have the conditions as that y of 0 equal 0. Okay? Again, it is really important that you have defined y as a function or a symbolic function from the start para mailagay natin yung initial condition natin. That is the value of y when t is 0. So here it says that the value of your y is 0. Okay, when your t is equal to 0. Okay, so that is why it is really important na define natin tong y as a symbolic function. Is that clear? Okay, so continuing on, this is not the particular solution kasi lalagyan natin ng initial conditions yung general solution natin para magkaroon ng value yung arbitrary constant natin. Okay. I'll still use dsolve. Okay. But this time, I'll place the initial conditions. Okay. So, yun siya. And then from there, I'll be able to compute 2 solutions. So, yung isa dyan is e raised to negative t. By the way, in Matlab, it's exp of x. Sa papel, we write this as e raised to x. So, please remember this equivalence, ha? Okay? Tandaan nyo to. Tandaan nyo tong equivalence na to. Equivalent forms na to. Okay. So, yung first solution natin is e raised to negative t. Okay. minus 1. That's the first solution. And our second solution is negative e raised to t. Negative e raised to negative t. Okay, plus 1. Okay, so from there, nalaman natin that Matlab was able, Matlab or Octave was able to determine that C1 is actually 1. Okay, and C2 equals negative 1. Kasi yun yung nag-reflect dito eh. Based dun sa results ni Matlab. Okay? Is this are these things clear? Or are at least you appreciate these things? Okay, so again, dinemo ko lang yung yung ilang parte ng activities, ng activity 2. But this is something that I would like you to really explore on your own. And again, kung makaka-encounter kayo ng problems, inform niyo lang ako para matingnan natin kung paano kayo matutulungan. Okay? So, actually I was thinking na sandali lang tayo sana ngayon. Kaya lang inabot na ako ng 1.5 hour just to discuss yung first 3 activities. Okay, pero ano ba to? Kasi sandali lang magpe-prepare lang ako ng copy nito. Okay, so hindi ko pa again, nire-write ko pa tong nire-write ko pa tong activity 3. At this point, medyo yung makikita yung naka-print out dito sa manual niyo is something na medyo kulang pa. Okay, but anyway, ipo-provide ko na lang yung kompletong copy nung activity na to. Okay. Kasi ang problema ko nito is yung mga nauna kong diniscuss, yung mga una kong naisulat before I decided to add a certain topic here. Kasi I felt like na kailangan kasi talaga siya palang i-discuss. And nakalimutan ko siyang ilagay nung unang version nito. Okay. Medyo na yung arrangement kasi medyo nagulo. So I have to parang basically start all over again. Okay. Pero this activity 3 is about approximations and round of errors. Okay. What you need to understand about numerical methods, okay? Because again, in this course, we will be dealing with numerical methods or numerical calculations by a computer, okay? Okay, is that number one, the calculations or the computations will be performed by a computer. So that's the central idea sa tinatawag ng numerical methods. Okay. So ano naman ngayon kung ang magpe-perform ng calculations o ng computations ay computer. Okay. You have to remember that computers are basically digital devices. They are digital devices. Fundamentally, these are digital devices. And if they're digital devices, okay, the resources, okay, that it would use in order to perform its tasks, okay, and in this case, to do computations, okay, are finite, okay. So, since these are digital devices and this is a computer, basically your computers as digital devices have finite resources. Okay. They have finite resources. Ibig sabihin, finite yung memory. Okay. It has finite CPU, computational power. Okay. Thus, it also limits the speed by which your computer can perform calculations. Okay. So these are the things that you have to remember about your computers. Inherently, your computer being digital devices, they have this inherent limitations. Okay, they suffer from inherent limitations of having finite resources to work with. Okay, so in that case, yung mga related tasks sa computers ninyo, okay, are also limited. Okay, especially in the manner by which your computers represent data. Okay. So the first issue that I would like you to be aware of when studying numerical methods is that how your numbers are represented inside the computer, okay, may actually be a source of error. Maaari siyang maging sanhi ng error sa computation. Okay. In this case, as one example that I cited here to justify this issue is your Matlab and Octave represents your numbers, okay, by default as a double precision floating point number. So, kung pinanggit siya, yun. It represents every number, okay, every number in your Matlab or Octave as a double precision floating point number. Narinig niyo na ba to? Yung term na yan. Double precision floating point number. Wala pa naka-encounter sa inyo ng term na yan? Double precision floating point number. Mukhang wala pa. So, yung mga nakatapos na ng activity 0, hindi nyo to nabasa sa buong activity ninyo? Diniscuss siya dun, ayan, diniscuss siya dyan. Sa part na yan. Ayan, o, hindi nyo nabasa to. Ayun, so as I advised you before, basahin niyo itong material na to kasi maraming mga binabanggit dyan na that I would not be able to discuss with you unless itanong siya sa akin. Okay, so or unless mag-come up siya with with another topic katulad nito. Okay, so your numbers in Matlab and in Octave are represented using double precision floating point number. Okay, and this is how actually that representation is carried out. Okay. if your number is represented as a double precision floating point number, it uses or it occupies 64 bits in your memory. Okay, makikita nyo yun actually dito sa Matlab. Say for example, meron akong x equals 2. Look at x here. Okay. So tingnan natin yung x dito. Okay, yung x natin has a value of 2. Tingnan niyo yung class. So the variable, your x belongs to the variable class double. Or the data class double. Sorry, hindi pala variable class, data class. Okay? Because hindi actually, yung class doesn't pertain to the variable itself. It actually pertains to the value inside the variable. Okay, so this value, yung 2, is actually a double precision floating point number. Okay, so by default, yung Matlab ninyo represents number that way. Okay, and for it to do that, it uses 64 bits. Okay, it uses 64 bits. 64 bits is 8 bytes. Kasi alam natin isang byte, 1 byte of data contains 8 bits. Okay, so therefore, kung 64 bits yan, you have 8 bytes of data. Yun yung makikita nyo dito as dun sa natin as yung size niya. Size niya na 8. Okay? So, ayun. So, you now have 64 bits of this one. And those 64 bits are divided into 3 fields. Okay? So, that 63rd bit, the most significant bit, yung nasa pinakakaliwang bit ninyo, is the sign bit. Okay? Yung 62nd up to the 52nd bit represents the exponent field. Okay? And the 51st bit, 51st bit until to bit 0 or yung B0 represents the Mantissa. In other literature, they call this fraction. Okay, instead of Mantissa, they use the term fraction for this one. Okay. So, what would happen here is that your number, halimbawa meron kang number na 648. Okay? It is actually converted into another form. Basically in a binary form. Okay, in a binary form. Okay? Having 64 bits of data. Okay? I actually have parang nilagay ko dito yung proseso kung paano siya ginagawa. Okay. For example, sa sign bit niyo, that is 0, kung positive yung number and 1 siya, in the case that your sign bit is negative. Okay? Now, the exponent field represents the power of 2. Okay? That your number has. Kasi mangyayari dyan, yung halimbawa 648 ito, ko-convert natin yan sa binary. Halimbawa lang, yung 648 sa binary is, halimbawa lang to, 101111. By the way, nag-aral na kayo ng binary numbers, right? Meron naman kayong computer courses before. May fundamentals of programming kayo, di ba? So, ayan. So, halimbawa lang I won't go through the painstaking task of determining the actual binary equivalent nito. Pero sabihin natin ang magiging ano niyan is 101101110101. Halimbawa lang. Okay. Now, what we will do is we will move this radix point. Radix point ang tawag dito kapag nasa ibang base kayo. Pero pag nasa decimal system kayo, tawag nyo dyan decimal point. Okay? So, dito, tawag natin ngayon radix point kasi nasa base 2 tayo. Okay, we will move this radix point papunta dito. Tapos bibilangin natin kung ilang digits or ilang bits yung nilagpasan natin. Okay, so in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have 13 bits na nilagpasan. So that I can write this number as 1.011, 011, 11011101 times 2 raised to 13. Okay? So similar yan sa parang meron kayong scientific notation. Pero instead of actually writing this in terms of power of 10, you write this in terms of power of 2. Okay? Now this 13, okay, is now your exponent. Pero yung 13 na yan, dadagdagan natin siya ng 1023. Okay? So yan yung, tapos yung magiging sum niyan, which is 1036, yan yung i-convert natin sa 11-bit binary number. We will convert this into an 11-bit binary number. Okay, and yun yung mag-occupy ng mga bits na to. That would occupy those bits. Yung 11 bits na pagkukunan natin. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. Now, the Mantissa or the fractional part is this one. Ito siya. Okay, kaya lang bubuuin natin siyang 52 bits. Okay, so ito mapupunta do sa this one goes to the bit 0. Okay, so ito yung magiging 1 dito. Okay. And then the rest of these things mapupunta yan dito. 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 and so on. Okay. But since kulang siya ng 52 bits. Okay. Dadagdagan natin siya ng mga zeros. Dadagdagan natin yung mga zeros siya para mabuo natin yung 52 bits para sa Mantissa. Okay. Now, there are actually two modes for your Mantissa. One we call the unnormalized range. Okay. And the other one is called the normalized range. Okay. So, you would consider your number to be within the unnormalized range if the exponent, yung nabuo natin dito, okay, nabuo natin after converting this here, yung mabubuo nyo ditong exponent is 0. If that exponent is 0, okay, you are within what the system calls the unnormalized range. Okay. Now that number tends to be very, very small. Okay, that number tends to be very, very small. Sobrang liit ng number na yon so that the exponent is considered to be 0. Okay. So, yung unnormalized range is actually the range that covers very small number. Okay. And of course, the normalized range is yung kapag yung exponent nyo is between 1 hanggang 10, 24. Okay. Now, our discussion would not actually go through the point wherein I would ask you to, or that I would give you a number, say 548, and then I would ask you to actually do this algorithm or do this process, and then give me the double precision floating point number representation of this. By the way, instead of actually saying double precision floating point number, tatawagin ko na lang siyang float 64. So when I say float 64, it actually pertains to double precision floating point number. Ang haba kasi. So, I'll just say simply as float 64. Okay, so we won't go through the process or the exercise of me giving you a number. Okay, giving you a number and then giving me the float 64 representation of this number. Okay. We will not do that, at least by hand. But I actually gave here, or I actually have included here, a function. This is a function. Okay. Function siya. Okay. That can actually do the task for you. So which means, kapag in-input ko dito yung 548, pag in-input ko yung 548 dito, siya yung magbibigay na nung float 64 representation. Okay, let me try that. Okay. So this is the function now. Punta lang ako sa sa folder ko. Kasi nandun yung function eh. Okay, this is the function IEEE 754. Okay. So if I actually type in help IEEE 754, may lalabas na information. Okay? So, whereas kapag ka sa labas hindi wala ako sa folder na to at tinype ko 'yon, mag-error lang siya. Okay. Now is the thing. Here's the syntax. So I'll define 3 output variables. Isa para sa sign bit, isa para sa exponent bits, tapos isang variable para sa to hold the fractional part or the fractional bits. Okay, so then we'll just simply use IEEE 754. And then what's the number that 548. So that gives you now the sign bit, which is 0 kasi nga positive siya. This is the exponent bit. Okay, and this is the fraction bits. Okay? So now from there, you would be asked to kasi may mga directions dito. There are instructions here. Okay. And there are questions. So from there, doon yung makikita ngayon yung gusto kong i-point out, or that is where you would be able to learn ano yung gusto kong i-point out as to why the representation of the number itself is a source of error when you are using computers as a computational tool. Okay, so I hope that you will be able to learn that part. Okay. So, ayun. Now, I would have liked for me to finish everything here. Kasi gusto ko pang i-discuss yung another source of error. Okay. In which ma-realize nyo na when you are doing computations or when you are doing or when you're using computers to solve problems for you, one of the pitfalls that you would be encountering is your computations might be off. The results might not be the one that you are expecting. And not really because na mali yung method niyo. Pero baka kasi yung treatment niyo of the numbers and of the operations in your algorithm, okay, caused the error. So this is something that we will be dealing with over and over again in the future courses that in the future activities that we will have. That is why ngayon pa lang gusto ko na sana siyang i-resolve. I would want this thing to be discussed with you. Okay. So I'll finish this activity up. Tatapusin ko itong activity nito, then as soon as I can, I would be sending them to you, assigning them to you. And then since natin natapos yung discussion today, it's either I'll be uploading a video that would discuss this activity, or tuloy natin siya next week. Although I'd prefer na sana next week meron tayong bagong lesson. Okay, which is about linear algebra. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Yan, na overtime tuloy ako ng 1 minute. So yun, tuloy na lang natin to sa next week or asynchronously. I'll be providing you the materials. Okay, but expect that the finished activity would be that the activity manual and the activity itself would be assigned to you either basta within this week. Okay? Baka kasi abutin pa ako ng Saturday. I'm not really sure kung ano yung mangyayari pa sa ibang parte ng Okay? So, questions saan na lang, sa message na lang. Send me personal messages for your questions and concerns. Okay? So, I think that's it for today. Thank you for attending today's meeting. Pa-log out na lang
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Pag may